All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Mike, can you verify that you can see the screen okay, just to make sure that everyone's seeing that same presentation as well?
Yes, Ron, I can see it, so we're in good shape.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. This is obviously BTB Security's webinar, How to Justify Security. I'm just going to do a quick introduction and then go ahead and turn it over. So today we're going to be talking about a couple different things. I'll jump right into what the agenda would mean. But I'm going to turn it over to Mike McEwen. Mike's going to be talking about the topic at hand, how to justify security. And from there, after we go through the presentation, we're going to allow a little bit of time for Q&A. There is a chat window off to the side, if you guys can see that. Go ahead and use that either during the presentation. If you do have a problem, we'll try to correct that. Or at the end of the presentation, we'll give some time for Q&A, and we don't unmute everybody, but we take them during the or through the chat window. I'll speak them aloud so that everyone hears it, and then from there, we'll go ahead and answer those questions. So there you go, Mike. Turn it over to you, and here you go.
All right, very good. Thanks, Ron. Folks, I'm really excited to do this session with you. As you probably, if you've participated before with BTB seminars, you know that we like to educate people on what's going on in the security space, and you should keep an eye open for what we've got coming up in the future, and also look onto our website for past webinars that we've done. We did a great one last month on penetration testing, and we've gotten outstanding feedback, and I know folks that missed it have gone to our website to see the replay and have found it to be very, very good. So we're going to talk a little bit about BTB, the company profile. We're going to talk about why the need to justify security, although that's almost becoming an easy one, but we want to make sure you've got the elements of your ROI model so that you can more easily make choices that need to be made along the way. So let's start with a little bit. I want to kind of give you a quick introduction of me. I am the national sales exec for BTB Security, and I've got over 30 years of IT experience. I cut my teeth in the industry with. Ryan, yeah, you can move to the who am I on that one. I cut my teeth in the industry with IBM, selling to large financial services and insurance clients here in the Philadelphia region. Went into the recruiting space and then owned my own business for 20 years and worked with some other companies after that in the information technology application development space. My friends here at BTB, I've known them for a while. They asked me to come on board to see, help them in this sales role, and that's what I'm doing right now. But with my 30-plus years of experience, the young, smart partners of BTB refer to me as Uncle Mike. So I'm a St. Joe's Hawk for anybody who cares. I'm a golfer, a bowler, and I'm a pay-it-forward guy. So I'd love to help you, in any way that I can. Quick snippet on, and Ron, you can move it to the next one now. A quick snippet on BTB. We were founded in 2006, and over 400 projects later, and over 120 clients later, we have been deep in the security space, doing a large number of value adds for our clients in a national footprint. The backgrounds of our partners, Brian Bailey, Chris McGinley, and Ron Schlecht, who is our founder and managing partner, include years of experience in Big Four, similar sized organizations, and they've also had that experience in building and managing and operating corporate security groups. So I think we've got a great perspective, both from an outsider looking into organizations about what they need to do about security, as well as living with the problems and the challenges that our customers face. All right, Ryan, you can move it to the next one. So let's jump in a little bit. Why do we need to justify security? It's kind of almost the no-brainer question that's out there today. And I think, it all starts with today, secure and private is an expectation. It's an expectation of the customers that we've got. It's expectations of the knowledge workers within our organizations. I think we all feel that that is something that should be part of, information technology. It should be safe. It should be private. Yet, we all know that it's not today. We know that there's problems and there are risks that are out there. So when you take a step back and you think about it, the ROI in security, the justification of security, comes down to, I think, a simple statement of risk avoidance. We're trying to, live our lives, do the things we want to be able to do, manage our businesses, process what we've got to do, conduct whatever it may be, and avoid the troubles that we have seen, some organizations, large organizations run into today, and small organizations. But it's important, I think, that you keep that risk avoidance in mind and think about it in terms of return on the investment. You can hide under a rock, but you may not do business that way. You need to, you may spend, as J.P. Morgan Chase did, or will in 2015, $500 million, but you've got to ask yourself when you're spending that money, is it something that is giving you a payback in the areas that you need it to have a payback? There's no money to be made. It's really money to be saved. There's profits to be saved. There's productivity to be saved. But so that makes it difficult sometimes to think about it as an ROI. But if you kind of put the mindset on, that's the way to look at it. There's really three elements kind of hiding in this chart when it comes to security that are your justification points. Compliance, a requirement of the business that you're in. User productivity. You don't want breaches or security issues to impact the ability to move your business along quickly, effectively, productively. And then the last aspect of it is the risk avoidance. When you lose valuable data or you expose your customers to this dirty cyber world, what does that end up what risks is that putting your business into? There's lots of research we all can do in terms of the cost of a breach, but it really breaks into two components that everybody should be thinking about in their justification approach. First is the tangibles, the staff it takes to fix a problem, the cost of a lost record. Today, that's hovering around $500 for every lost customer record that's out there. That can become significant when you hear some of the daunting numbers that we're all reading about. Downtime costs, which turns into both worker productivity and potentially, depending upon your business, a calculable profit on transactions that don't get done that normally could be done in the normal working of things. Then there's the intangibles, reputation to the organization, perhaps competitive advantage, and perhaps on the customer side, a fear of working with your organization, conducting business with your organization, spending more time with your company. So if you take a step back and you say, what does this all mean? It really comes down to all of these things need to be thought about, and you need to approach your security spend as a smart spend, both proactive and effective. J.P. Morgan Chase didn't want to have happen to them what they did. I would dare say their spend in security has been significant over the years. As I've mentioned, $500 million will be spent in 2015. So have they been proactive? Absolutely. Were they effective? Well, we could think about that one a little bit. The Sony folks, interesting on the other side of it. There's a big one, right? Other than being proactive in the way that some chose to speak harshly about partners and employees, they failed in many cases in this regard. The only thing their security challenge did to them is cause them embarrassment, executive loss, customer relationship loss, partnership loss, employee disgruntlement, and I think that's a lot that they're paying to try to make a B-rated movie do a little bit better. So go ahead, Ron, you're on to the next one if we can there. So let's talk about tools. If you think about it, your security technology infrastructure is or should be about protection. Protecting your business performance, protecting the operational efficiency of the organization, and customer impact, protecting your customer data that they're expecting as well. There's been a number of block and tackle tools that I think we all know are out there. And here's the good news, because it makes it easy as you're trying to build your budget up. You can look at these tools as being, minimums that are there. And the very, very good news is they're expected. If anybody in their organization is looking up and saying, we don't need firewalls, spam filters, antivirus, or some level of monitoring, well, there's a problem there that you can kind of look around and go, you got to do it. Everybody's doing it, and our customers expect this. So, you start there, and then you're going to get to the efficiency parts as you look at it. On top of that firewall, spam filter, antivirus, and monitoring tools that are out there, organizations need to, for their specialized needs, look at some of the tools that have been developed to address those. So, example of that would be, web app firewall that may be, important for your particular, business needs. Developing efficiencies for the security professionals is what it is all going to be about, and that's where you need to think about tools. I know in my 30-plus years in the industry, you could always find somebody that was building their technology fiefdom, shiny toys, to play with, and in the interest of R&D, trying to test to see where something might work or whatever, and there was a lot of latitude given for play toys, as I called it in the 80s. But in today's world, at the speed at which it's moving, you can't think about that. There are a lot of shiny toys. You've got to start with that shiny toy and answer the question right out of the gate. Does it have the potential to be effective? And as security professionals, you need to be thinking out loud about the question of, can I do it cheaper or faster or better with the tool that may or may not be proposed there? And you need to put a financial calculator on that to make sure that that potential shiny toy is more than that there's some meat on the bone for what you need to get done. Technologies today are improving constantly, and they're changing constantly. So we're seeing, better mousetraps popping up in the security space as this discipline is evolving. So there's always going to be something new to take a look at, and we encourage our customers to do that. Make it part of the habit. It's not only managing to the day-to-day, but it's taking a little bit of that future look that's out there. So, you should have in your organization budget for, on a regular basis, tools evaluation. Look at the tools that are coming out. Be aware. Be smart about the things that are changing there. And if you're doing that within your organization, especially as this whole security space continues to evolve, you will be able to help your organization set the tone for integrating within their culture, the security approach that you need, regardless of being a security professional or not. Ron, go ahead and shoot to the processes if we can. A big question everybody needs to ask in their organization is, am I being smart with my spend on best practices? More than tools, this is an area where you can very, quote-unquote, cheaply or inexpensively, however you want to talk about it, have impact on your organization. Getting processes in place, even if they're not the best in the world, get some processes in place around the security mindset and then work on them. A lot of that is, some human effort and focus and priority. I know one of our favorite words is about priority. There's plenty that we can do every day, but assigning priority to having best practices is very, very important. Documentation, absolutely, and effective in-house communication. It does nobody any good if you've got something documented that nobody knows how to get to or even knows exists that's out there. We sat down today in a very interesting conversation with a client where we had 3 key senior execs from 3 different parts of their information technology organization sitting in a room, nowhere near on the same page as to what they should be doing or with regard to security, what their processes should be, what should be documented or not. All of them know they have to address it, but they haven't done it yet. And, you know, our simple recommendation to them is let's get started. It resonated with them. They were like, yeah, you know what, you're right. It's kind of a block and tackle approach, but, you know, work on getting those processes in place, documented, and properly communicated. I look at having an incident response playbook in place as the focal point for all of the processes that you put in place in your organization. This playbook will be something that is going to be a living playbook. It's got to evolve as the world around us changes, but it should incorporate, you know, what happens with a breach? What are you doing about malware? What's the process or approach with regard to malware? If you have human resource related issues, what's the game plan, at least at a high level? What about denial of service? What do we do? How do we do? And if that, if you will, that focused central focal point you build around, you can, you know, quickly, you know, implement sensible processes, and you can be in a position to monitor, grow, assess, and make better the processes that you need in this ever-changing world. Self-assessment and testing has to be there. You know, you can't put the process in place and then just go, oh, we got it, we're done, thank you very much. You need to evaluate those constantly because the world we're in is changing. You need to be looking for effectiveness. Are we accomplishing our security goals? You need to be looking for efficiency. Can we do it cheaper or faster or better? That's the constant question that needs to be asked along the way. We recommend that organizations, at a minimum, consider outside testing and validation. In many industries, it is an absolute requirement. We also recommend that you do that smartly. There's self-testing that you can do, but you need to take a balanced approach along those lines. And then you need to think in terms of the processes that you're going to build in the terms of developing a good corporate security set of habits, if you will, embedding security into your corporate culture so that, you know, security is not going to be the thing that holds back, you know, the business's overall success. Ron, I think I've hit that one pretty good. Why don't we go to the people side? Here's the great problem. You could almost take this chart within information technology and go, wow, that fits across the board. And I think that's very true. The problem on the security side is that security expertise, security mindset, security enjoyment is a different kind of person. In my recruiting days, we used to talk about requirements we get from our customers that we called purple squirrel, almost that impossible set of skills and experience that person has that they're trying to recruit for. And some customers would sit on their hands waiting for that purple squirrel to show up before they would act in a hire mode. Security talent is absolutely in that purple squirrel category. But within that purple squirrel profile, I think you can grow your talent and you know, that you need there. So the first thing that you need to look at with regard to your human capital attack on the security space is, are we a company that wants to do this in-house or potentially look at outsourcing? And that evaluation, I think, is a valid and real one mainly because of the staffing challenges that exist in the marketplace today. Managed service may be right for you because of talent, perhaps effectiveness, and if you price it out, we found with many of our customers, they found that it is a very cost-effective way to approach it. Volume of traffic, volume of activity, number of problems, size of organization, the ability to create a realistic career path, and the way that you cycle talent within your organization will help you define what's the best approach, in-house or outsourced. But I think it's got to be thought about in those terms, especially in the fact that there's going to be a smaller, more focused number of people, concentrated number of people working in the security space for you. It's not a sea of people that you're looking at. It's going to be highly talented, tribal knowledge type people that you're not going to want to get out of your, you don't want them getting out of the way for you by turning over, et cetera. So let's talk a little bit about smart hiring. You can help your organization, whoever is your talent team, the folks that are helping you recruit the players for your organization by spending time, and this is always hard, but spending time of developing profiles for what you believe are the best candidates for your team. What skills do you need? What skills would be, desired on top of that? What kind of personality you want? Look at the working habits and take a little bit more time in terms of defining their role in terms of the process of what they're going to be doing, because it's hard for you to just kind of list the skills out. You really need to think out in terms of the way that these security folks are going to be operating within your team. I recommend that in this space, because the purple squirrels are hard to find, hire light. Go on the lighter side of experience and really solicit people that have an interest in this security space. So, where you think you may need 5 years of experience, you might look at 3 or 4 on an analyst that you might be bringing into your organization and invest in it. They're going to appreciate it, and they're going to hang around longer. Salary targeting, I think, is a hard one today. Security people are making a lot of money. It's a premium today because of the news. You shouldn't just roll over on that, however. I don't mean to talk against having a wonderful and profitable career in security. I think that will take care of itself. But you want to be reasonable with regard to how you pay your folks and look at it in relation to where the rest of the organization and the rest of your region may be. So you should be in this space surveying regularly so that you can proactively be ahead of what you need to do from a salary standpoint. Challenge HR, who's going to try to fit your security folks into a very specific grid. Challenge them for that specialized skill, in terms of where and how and why they're doing. Be honest with yourself about what your organization can do with regard to career growth. You need to appreciate that the security role, while there is 24/7 responsibility and there's high, I'm trying to think of the right word for it, impact for what these talents are going to do, you really want to look at your talent and make sure that you've developed a plan for growing those folks, giving them a path to where they need to get to, and execute on that plan. Again, they're going to be critical to a much larger population within the company. They're going to be impactful. So you want to make sure that you can keep them happy, keep them developed, keep them turned and new and fresh, and protect your organization from any unexpected movement of these folks in the marketplace. All right, I think we're ready to flip. Let's talk about your customers and your business partners. The key here is look at the elements of educating your business partners and your customers as to your philosophy and your approach to security. Sharing that with them is going to help them in understanding how they're going to interact with you and appreciate what you guys are bringing to the table. Proper communication is important. You can't be sitting there saying the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. You need to adopt a balance of what I call just right. You can't give them too little. You can't give them too much. You need to focus in on, a regular rhythmic approach to your communication on the issues and stay spot on. You need to have that incident response playbook, incorporating your customers and your business partners. Build it out, share it, get feedback on it from your partners. The customers they'll give you feedback along the way, but share it and get that feedback, and again, keep that as a living document that you're working with. Making security a priority for both agreement and action with your partners and customers will be, again, important for your successful security program. Keeping everybody on the same page, understanding or coming to agreement about the same value and the same level of commitment will make everybody happy and a little bit safer in this little bit of a dirty world. All right, flip to the next. So for your knowledge workers, and this is both within the information technology organization as well as outside of IT, you need to develop a 100% minimum baseline security education program. People should be aware of what are you doing with your physical assets, data assets, what are the rules with regard to protection of those. Again, different industries, but always, what are the client privacy rights, corporate protection responsibility? What are the impacts of bad behavior in that regard? Having a minimum program that everybody participates in will help inject that corporate culture that is security-minded, security-aware, and looking to make security something that does not get in the way of your business being successful. The next bullet, when you look at it, the opportunistic and unique security challenges, as you look at the programs that you're going to build and justifying it, looking for a champion inside of your organization, somebody where you can create a quick win that will create support for you is a great way to kind of shortcut your programs and make them more credible more quickly. So finding that champion that maybe has a unique challenge within their organization as it pertains to security will carry you a long, long way. Another thing that I think can be very, very helpful is you've got people in your organizations that are specialists with dollars and cents. That finance and accounting organization, which everybody tends to dread, the bean counters, et cetera, that hold back, it seems, they have a view of how to justify, and they've got expertise in terms of making dollars and cents work. So going to them and saying, hey, I need a little bit of help as we look at the justification that I can articulate. I'd like to find a way to better monetize that, as that will help us all along. Believe it or not, they love to help, and you adopting some of their approach to that can also be very, very helpful to you. Let's flip on to executive management. Everything kind of flows downhill in organizations when you think about it, and I know that it's often very difficult to get your executives on the page that they need to be on unless they've developed the priority. And the good news is the marketplace is telling them today they need to develop priority. They need to be looking at security. They need to be secure aware, and they need to have programs in place. But executives at that very high level don't necessarily have enough meat on the bone other than to be able to spell security. So it's your responsibility to educate them. Executives work in simple benefits terms. So things like, we have firewalls because we're evaluating managed services because it will provide this benefit to us, and regularly letting them know that you're doing those things is important, answering some of their questions, why along the way, and make it a proactive approach and an educating approach as opposed to can you give me kind of an approach. Communication with your executive management needs to be regular, and there's lots of ways to be able to do that. Maybe it's in a written format, maybe it's in a presentation format or a town hall type of format, but you need to develop a regular communication cadence as it pertains to your security programs. It needs to be impact-oriented. Our security program saved. Our security program attacked this issue. We see this happen to ABC Company in the newspapers. Our security programs are allowing us not to make the headlines. Those communications go a long, long way in helping your executive management to keep security on the priority list that it needs to be on. One thing that we talk to with our customers that I believe is really important, what matters? What is your corporate security appetite? Where does it fit in terms of importance to the organization? What is the real cost of impact, that impact of a breach? What's the real cost to an organization on that? And elevating this security awareness will help you determine what that appetite is going to look like. As I said on the beginning of this slide, that your attitude towards corporate security, within the culture of the organization, will start at the top and it will roll downhill. So it's good to assess where you guys are at in your companies with that, and use that perspective with your executives. I think you could ask that question to any executive right now. Tell me, what's the corporate security appetite? They'll all say all quote-unquote the right things. Getting them to say that will help them to begin to try to live that and make that happen. So at the highest of levels, I think we've talked about what the security ROI issues are and kind of broken down some of the components. Hopefully this has been helpful for those that are here today. Would like to open it up now to questions perhaps you've got about how to justify, perhaps some comments or war stories of your organization that may be will be helpful to the community today.
This is Ron. If you guys want to go ahead, anybody that's on the call, there's a chat window that should be open in your WebEx session. If you want to go ahead and open that chat window, I'm going to go ahead and look through some of the things that we have going on here, try to keep the presentation up. But if there are any questions, you can go ahead and send them directly to that chat window, and I'll read them off, and we can have a conversation based on that. We'll keep it open for a couple more minutes. It was a little bit faster. I think Mike talked a little bit faster, maybe had a little bit too much caffeine this afternoon getting ready for the webinar. But if there are any questions, go ahead and send them our way right now in the chat window. We'll hang on for 5 or 10 more minutes. Otherwise, the recording for the webinar will be posted up on our website under the resources section, under the video section. This can be referenced at any time. And of course, if you do have any follow-up questions, A lot of the contact information for us can be found on our website as well, and we're obviously out there on social media sites as well. All right, we do have two questions that have just come in. One is from Larry. It is, how are you seeking security consulting firms such as BTB? Let me reread this here. Make sure I get the full gist of it. All right. How are you seeing security consulting firms such as BTB helping us with internal management leaders to champion the recent regulatory needs like HIPAA, political, banking, etc.? Like, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or you want me to kind of jump in?
I think, you know, my high level comment is that there's a lot of people that are all around this challenge. And some people, from a consulting perspective, are in it for the money. And then there are those organizations that are looking up and saying, hey, we need to attack this as it's an industry problem. So seeking out an organization that does that is really what you want to do. And I'm going to jump off and let you, Ron, take a cut at that, because I think, you know, we've been fortunate at BTB, one, to be focused on trying to do it the right way, and two, having customers who have appreciated our approach and recognize that and partner more effectively in helping us attack those challenges. I'll let you kind of, you know, comment back on that.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of how we help or how we've seen firms or how any independent, you know, security contracting provider would help in internal management to talk about regulatory needs is really, you know, demuddling the water. So unfortunately, there's usually a lot of solution providers out there that will try to insert whatever they have to sell into the recent events or new regulatory spins that are out there. Anybody that's been around in the industry any amount of time understands that, you know, most of the stuff out there isn't really anything new. It's just a rehash of what's already been said at some point. So I think a lot of our approach comes down to not just understanding what very specific new regulatory needs are out there, you know, what new things have popped up either in the industry or from an actual regulator. Somebody's moving around an awful lot, if you can mute yourself. So a lot of what we try to do is unmuddy those waters so that, we make sure that we're focused on the absolute security of the organization as opposed to, focusing solely on a new regulatory matter or, whatever it may be. So we try to come in as an independent third party because we do see a lot of clients in different industries of different sizes and provide that, that sort of wider view. We get to see, like I said, a lot of clients in a lot of different industries, a lot of different sizes, and sometimes that's all it takes is just a reinforcement of what's already being said to internal management, just through the eyes of an actual consultant. Everyone has experienced that at some point. You can say something 10 times, and then when you have an independent consultant come in and say the exact same thing, sometimes it makes more sense just because, or it doesn't make more sense, it just holds a little bit more weight because there's an experience that's across many different clients. That's the unfortunate truth to it. I hope that answers the question there. Another question we had, any thoughts on a hybrid model of in-house and outsourcing? I'll go ahead and jump in on this one because it was actually a question that I had answered today in talking to a client. This is something that we generally try to preach for every client. So, we don't think that everything should be absolutely outsourced to any provider. There's a number of things that can be done internally. There's a lot of guidance that we try to give in that, when you have current technology or processes in place or the right people in place, there's a large amount of things that can be done internally just as well as could be done from an outsourced model. There are other things, very specialized capabilities. Incident response usually jumps to mind because that's the one that we're asked to do a lot of. It's a very specialized skill set, can be kind of expensive and kind of hard to retain somebody on staff to do that type of thing. And you see a lot more people outsourcing that type of functionality or that type of capability. So I think, that hybrid model, doing as much as you can in-house, and then also just supplementing that with, the smart outsourcing is the best way to go about it. It's, figuring out what you can do, the best ways to do that. And a lot of times, if you have a good security consultant or a good security provider, they should be able to sit down and honestly figure out what, you think and what you can do intelligently in-house, and then what makes sense to, look for an outside provider on. And I think this goes above and beyond security. I think this can be said for IT in general, right? We have a couple more questions. The next one, from a recruitment and human capital capacity, talent retention and hiring is difficult. How do we support this changing need? Headcount is such a difficult topic to achieve and maintain. Mike, I don't know if you want to jump in and take this one. You've worked in more of the recruiting world in previous experience and have some thoughts on this one, I know.
I think that it's a hard one to answer when there's such a short amount of truly talented people in this space, and it requires work. So I see a program that involves actually actively networking in the community, right? So security professionals should be out and about talking to fellow security professionals. It's good practice anyway, but that's one aspect of it. But that networking being towards the promotion of your organization and things that you're doing. The second thing is educating your talent folks as to what to look for, and always have them constantly on the look for that good talent ahead of the game, ahead of the opening. It takes a little bit of time and effort, but have your talent people do that. The third thing is, reach to the young, bright talent that's out there. Talk to the university communities early, get people excited about what's going on with your organization and security, so that as folks are out there looking, they're thinking about you as an organization where they can go and get involved in a security, opening, requirement, career, or whatever may be there. And I think that those things are going to be important. And probably the last thing that we're all going to be forced to do, but I think if you embrace it and look at it as a training development opportunity. Hire light, hire the younger talent, less experienced talent. You can't get everything on the spec sheet of things you want, and teach. And that's the way I would go.
Okay, we have a couple more questions here. I'll just read them off. The first one, or the next one is, how do you deal with management that feels your company does not have anything to offer criminals, so is therefore not a target? I'll take this one. Mike, I don't know if you want to jump in, but for this, it's sort of funny because we get this sometimes from a lot of different companies and industries all over the map. If they're not holding financial information or some type of customer information that would be considered juicy, it's kind of like, well, who cares? Why should we try to protect everything? To those people who have maybe never also been, attacked with malware, I would say that's one of the biggest fears that those types of people have. So if you get a piece of malware, or if your systems are taken over and they're used to basically bounce attacks to somebody else, well, then what? Are you liable because your systems are basically being used as ghost systems to attack somebody else? So that's one aspect of, making sure that it actually does impact you. You have to take care of that type of information. Even if you don't think that type of information or the information that you hold is juicy or would be, really good for a criminal, if there's not anything to offer criminals, I guarantee that something within the organization could be used. Like I said, it might be resources, so servers, bandwidth, whatever it may be. But it may also be internal data, whether that's competitive intelligence, insider information, or maybe just links to other organizations. So you have, companies that may have people that sit on boards of directors for other companies. So again, when a lot of people initially target organizations, you do have some very targeted attacks where people are trying to go after financial institutions and then figure out how to gain access to money transfers or pieces of information like Social Security numbers or credit card numbers. But you do also have people that are attacking organizations so that they can use them as a bouncing point to get into other organizations. It's a way to cover their tracks and basically use your organization or your resources, whatever they may be, as a way to hide their tracks or attack other organizations. So it is sometimes hard, and again, you go back to that ROI in terms of what you're trying to protect. You're obviously not going to spend more money trying to protect something that, if you lost it, wouldn't be worth that much, or you wouldn't have that much of a loss expectancy on it. But at the same time, there is value in that infrastructure and the resources that you do have for your organization. And then the last question that we have, if I can get through it here real quick. Security leverages support for other teams, like web support or IT ops or the business. Are there any suggestions on areas to focus on?
Ron, ask that question again. I think I have a thought there, but I want to hear it one more time.
As security leverages support for other teams, like web support, IT ops, and business, are there any suggestions on areas to focus on? I think this goes back to that opportunistic and unique approaches, what we had talked about today in terms of, building those relationships, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I think that it's hard to, you could be focusing on any number of things depending upon the organization and what's going on, but it really comes down to, fundamental relationship you've got with those organizations that maybe can leverage what you're doing. Obviously, if you're looking at attacks on your environment or you're monitoring things that look unusual, it's easy with the network ops folks to go compare some numbers and focus in and get them involved in trying to analyze what's happening or share some of those things with them. But it really is a fundamental organizational human communication thing with them, focusing on their needs, how can I help, and keep it, quite frankly, that simple. Don't over-engineer it, but work on the communications with the organization to support them on the things that they need to have done, and be professional and persistent in making that communication happen.
Yeah, and kind of what I had mentioned before Mike started talking is that that opportunistic, that's kind of how I always put it with when you're working with any other teams, whether that's specifically in technology or different business groups. Being opportunistic and finding those unique challenges across either IT or different business units are going to make you a ton more friends. So you may be able to mold into some other pains that another organization has and be able to accomplish them by a change in security. So that's what I mean by opportunistic, making sure that you understand everybody's issues, what they're striving towards, and either, if you're working, if you're using their services or they're using part of your services, making sure that, again, exactly as Mike said, you're taking a step back and it's the goal of the organization overall, kind of dropping some of those walls and working together to accomplish them. So that's all the questions that we have. We're coming up on close to the end of the hour. Appreciate everybody's time. It looks like the questions have kind of run dry at this point, which is good. Appreciate everybody's time today. Like I said, the video will be posted onto the website under the resources section and video section. It usually takes us a couple of days to get it up there. But do appreciate everyone's time today, even though we had a couple video blips with the presentation and Uncle Mike and his stammering through some of this stuff. But that's fine. We won't get on them too much, so don't anybody worry. But appreciate everyone's time. Thank you, Mike, and we're going to go ahead and close up the WebEx now. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thanks, all. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.